The key didn't look special. That was the first problem. It sat inside a plain white envelope, with my name typed neatly across the front. Like it belonged to a spare mailbox or a padlock on a gym locker. The only thing that made my hand shake was the fact it came from my uncle's will. Uncle Ray wasn't the kind of man who left mysteries behind. He left receipts. He left warranties. He left instruction manuals folded back to the page you'd need. When my mom's dishwasher broke 2 summers ago, he didn't come over with sympathy. He came over with a multimeter and a calm expression like feelings were a distraction from the real work. So when the attorney slid the envelope across the table and said, "This was addressed specifically to you," I felt my throat tighten in a way grief hadn't managed yet. My mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue and stared at the carpet. The attorney watched me with the cautious patience of a man who'd seen too many families tear themselves apart over stupid things. I opened the envelope. A key dropped into my palm with a soft, unremarkable clink. Brass. Cheap. One of those rectangular heads with a stamped number. 113. There was also a folded note, handwritten in my uncle's blocky, deliberate print. Ben Unit 113 is paid through the end of the month. Take what you want. Leave what you don't. Do not open box 7, or I read it twice. The attorney cleared his throat. Is everything all right? I swallowed. Yeah, it's just him. My uncle didn't do dramatic. He didn't do warnings. He didn't do underlines. My mom finally looked up. What is it? It's a storage unit key, I said, because that part was easy. My eyes stayed on the line that wasn't. He left me a note. She held out her hand, and I hesitated, then passed it over. Her lips moved as she read. Her brows pinched together in confusion, then irritation like my uncle had made a bad joke at a bad time. Box 7, she repeated. What box 7? I shrugged like I didn't care. Like I hadn't just felt my stomach drop. Probably some stupid, organizing thing. You know how he was. But even as I said it, my thumb traced the stamped number on the key. 113. The metal was warm from my skin. It felt too normal to carry a message like that. After the meeting, my mom asked if she should come with me. I said no. Not because I was brave, because I didn't want her anywhere near whatever my uncle thought deserved a warning. I drove across town in a kind of numb focus. The way you drive after a funeral when the world looks washed out and unreal. Like it's all happening behind glass. I'd lived in this town my whole life, and still had to check the GPS twice to find the storage place. It wasn't off the main road. It was behind the main road. Tucked into a strip of warehouses and tire shops, like it was ashamed of itself. The sign out front read, Silver Pine Storage Safe. Clean. Secure. The secure part was underlined on the sign like it was trying to convince me. A chain link fence wrapped the property. The gate had a keypad and a camera that followed my car as I rolled up. I entered the code the attorney had given me, and the gate slid open with a smooth mechanical hum. Inside, the place looked like every storage facility you've ever driven past and never thought about. Long rows of metal doors, beige indented, with unit numbers stenciled in black. There was an office with a faded open sign and a vending machine that looked older than I was. I parked, sat there for a second, and stared at the envelope on my passenger seat. Do not open box 7. It didn't say, be careful. It didn't say you might find something upsetting. It said, like it was a rule. I forced myself out of the car and walked to the office. A bell chimed when I opened the door. The inside smelled like stale coffee and lemon cleaner. Behind the counter sat a woman in her late 40s with short hair and reading glasses perched low on her nose. She was scrolling on her phone like she was trying to pretend her job didn't exist. She looked up when I approached. Her face shifted into a polite, practiced smile. Hi there, need a unit? No, I said. I'm here about Unit 113. My uncle passed. Raymond Miller. The smile twitched. It didn't vanish, but it went tight around the edges like a glove pulled too hard. Oh, she said, and for the first time she really looked at me, not just at my wallet or my shoes. Your Ray's nephew. Yeah, Ben. She nodded slowly. Imdana. There was a pause that felt like something else was supposed to happen, like she was waiting for me to say the right phrase. I cleared my throat. The attorney said it's paid up through the end of the month. I just need to get inside, grab a few things, clear it out. Donna blinked, then reached under the counter and pulled out a clipboard. You'll need your ID. I handed it over. She checked it, wrote something down, and slid a form across the counter without meeting my eyes. This is just acknowledging transfer of access, she said. I signed. My pen scratched louder than it should have in that quiet office. Donna handed my ID back. Her fingers lingered on the edge of it a fraction too long, like she wanted to say something. Then she didn't. Unit 113 is in the back row, she told me. Corner, you'll see it. Thanks. I turned to leave, and she called after me. Ben. I stopped. Looked back. Donna's eyes were steady behind her glasses. He was particular, your uncle. I nodded. Yeah. She hesitated, then said, if you're going through his stuff, do it during office hours. Something cold slid down my spine. Why? I asked. Donna's mouth opened, then closed again. Her eyes flicked briefly toward the security monitors mounted in the corner of the office. Screens showing different aisles in grainy color. Every angle looked empty. Normal. It's just policy, she said finally, too fast. Better for liability. I forced a laugh that sounded fake even to me. Right. Sure. I walked out, and the sun felt too bright for the way my stomach had clenched. Unit 113 wasn't hard to find. It was exactly where she said, back row, corner. Tucked where two fences met like it had been pushed away from everything else. The metal door was shut. A silver padlock hung from the latch, clean and new compared to the rust-specked ones around it. I stared at the lock. My uncle wasn't messy. He didn't leave things half done, but this lock looked newer than everything else in this place, like someone had replaced it recently. I slid the key in. It turned smoothly. The lock popped open with a soft click. For a second, I just stood there with the padlock in my hand. Listening, no footsteps, no voices, no music. Just wind moving through chain link and the faint distant hum of traffic. I grabbed the latch and rolled the door upward. The sound of metal on metal echoed down the aisle like a shout. The smell hit me next dry cardboard and dust and something else I couldn't place. Not rot, not mold. Something sharp, almost electrical. Like the air near a running copier. The unit was lit by the strip of daylight spilling in. Inside, everything was arranged with unsettling precision. 7 banker boxes sat on a metal shelf at chest height, lined up in a row like trophies. Identical size, identical shape. Each one labeled in my uncle's handwriting. Box 1 box, 2 box 3 box, 4 box 5 box, 6 box 7. No furniture, no random junk, no holiday decorations. Just those 7 boxes and beneath them, a single folding chair facing the shelf like someone had sat there for a long time. Watching my pulse thudded in my ears. I stepped inside. The temperature felt different. Not colder exactly, still air heavy and flat, like the unit had been sealed for a long time, and the air had forgotten how to move. I reached up, touched box 1. Dust puffed under my finger. Normal. Then my eyes went to box 7. It looked the same at first glance, but the longer I stared, the more it didn't. The tape sealing the lid was clean and unyellowed. The cardboard wasn't bowed or softened by humidity. The label box 7 was darker, like the marker ink hadn't had time to fade. Like it hadn't been written years ago. Like it had been written recently. There was an envelope resting on top of box 1. White, neat. My name again, in my uncle's handwriting this time. Ben read first. My mouth went dry. I glanced back at the open door, sunlight. The aisle. Freedom. The normal world. Then I picked up the envelope and slid my finger under the flap. Inside was a single sheet of paper. It felt heavier than it should have, like it had absorbed the stale air. My uncle's handwriting filled the page in tight lines. The first sentence made my stomach drop. If you're reading this inside the unit, you already made the first mistake. If you're reading this inside the unit, you already made the first mistake. That line sat on the page like it weighed more than paper. My first instinct was to step backward out of the unit with the letter in my hand. My second instinct was to slam the door down and lock it like it was going to bite me. I did neither. Instead, I stood there under that strip of daylight, staring at my uncle's handwriting, feeling the same stubborn irritation I used to feel when he'd tell me I was holding a wrench wrong. Like he was still alive, still watching, still correcting me. I read on. Ben, if you're in Unit 113, do not close the roll-up door all the way while you're inside. Leave it open at least a foot. If the door closes completely, open it immediately. If you can't, sit in the chair and keep your eyes on the shelf until someone opens it from the outside. Do not call out for help. Do not shout. Do not knock. That's the second mistake. I swallowed and glanced at the door. It was open about 3 feet, enough to spill light into the unit. I took a step closer, and without thinking, lowered it a little until it was open about 1.5 feet. The metal door rattled softly as it settled. The sound seemed to carry longer than it should have. My chest tightened. I forced myself to breathe through my nose and kept reading. You will be tempted to take pictures. Don't. The unit doesn't like being recorded. Cameras make it curious. If you already took a picture, delete it. Then check your phone's gallery again. If the photo reappears, turn your phone off and leave it off until you're outside the gate. If it rings while you're in here, do not answer, no matter what name is on the screen. I glanced down at my phone like it might suddenly betray me. No notifications, no calls. Still, I slid it into my pocket, screen facing my thigh. Like that would help. My uncle's writing continued. Rule for the boxes. Open them in order if you open any of them at all. Do not skip. Do not just peek. The unit will interpret that as theft. Boxes 126 are safe if you follow the rules. Box 7 is not safe under any circumstances. I felt my eyes drift to box 7. The tape was smooth, too smooth. I tried to tell myself it was just my brain grasping for patterns, because grief makes everything feel symbolic. Because loss makes you superstitious. Because my uncle was a weird old man who probably spent his last years inventing elaborate rituals to feel in control. Then my eyes snagged on the folding chair beneath the shelf. He had sat there a lot. My throat went tight again. My uncle's letter wasn't done. If the lights above Unit 113 flicker, leave immediately. If you cannot leave, do not look up at the flickering light. Focus on the shelf. Read something from box 2 out loud until the flickering stops. If you hear footsteps outside the door, do not assume it's a person. If someone calls your name from the aisle, do not answer. Do not say "I'm here." Do not say hello. Do not say anything that acknowledges you are alone. If you break this rule, you may hear your own voice answering back. I stared at the words until the edges blurred. Acknowledges you are alone. What kind of sentence was that? What kind of life did you have to live to write something like that, and think it was normal enough to put in a list? I kept reading anyway, because that's what people do when they're scared. They keep going like information is armor. If you smell ozone, like after a lightning strike, stop touching whatever you're touching. Step away from the shelf. Sit in the chair. Wait until the smell goes away. If you smell something sweet like rotting fruit leaf, that one is urgent. If you find a piece of paper inside the unit that you didn't bring with you, do not read it. Do not unfold it. Put it back where it was and leave. If you read it by accident, do not look at box 7 for the rest of your life. The letter ended with a final paragraph, written darker, as if Head pressed the pen harder. And Ben, if you ever think, even for a second, that opening box 7 will end it, or finally explain everything, understand this. Box 7 is not the answer. Box 7 is how it gets out. I held the page so tightly my knuckles ached. My mind tried to do the thing minds do, make a normal story out of it. Maybe my uncle was paranoid. Maybe he'd gotten involved with some cultish nonsense. Maybe he'd been storing drugs and was trying to scare me away from whatever he didn't want found, but that didn't fit him. Uncle Ray wasn't mystical. He didn't believe in angels or signs or fate. He believed in screws and load-bearing walls and the kind of truth you could measure. If he'd written this, it meant one of two things. Either he'd lost his mind, or he hadn't. The thought sat heavy in my gut. I folded the letter back into the envelope, slower than I needed to, like the act of putting it away could put the ideas away too. Then I tucked it into my jacket pocket and looked at the boxes again. Opened them in order. I shouldn't have opened any of them. I knew that. But the note had already baited me. Had planted that sentence like a hook in my mouth. Boxes 126 are safe if you follow the rules. It was almost permission. Almost. I slid my hand to box 1 again. My fingers brushed the cardboard lid. A soft sound came from my right, barely more than a settling creak. I froze. The unit was still. The air held its breath. I turned my head slowly and looked toward the back corner of the storage unit. Nothing. Just metal walls, dust, shadows. I let out a thin, shaky breath and told myself I was being ridiculous. Then came the sound again. It didn't come from the back corner. It came from the shelf, from box 7. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like the floor moved. I stared at the row of boxes. Boxes 1 through 6 sat like silent, obedient things. Box 7 sat at the end, perfect and clean and wrong. Tap. The cardboard didn't flex. The lid didn't lift. Nothing visible moved. But the sound was unmistakable. Something was inside it, and it wasn't shifting like a trapped mouse or settling like old papers. It was deliberate, patient, like knocking. My mouth went dry. I backed away from the shelf, each step careful, like sudden movement might be interpreted. I remembered the rule. If you hear footsteps outside the door, do not assume it's a person. This wasn't footsteps, but it felt like the same category of warning. Do not engage. Do not invite. I forced myself to look at the open roll-up door. It was still open a foot and a half, letting in daylight and the normal colors of the outside world. I could leave right now. I could lock it back up. I could tell my mom I cleaned it out. I could throw the key in a river and never think about Unit 113 again. Tap. Then another. 2 taps. Faster this time. A pattern. I didn't want to understand it, but my brain ran toward the shape of it anyway, like a tongue prodding a sore tooth. Tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap. My uncle had been in the military for a few years when he was young. I remembered him teaching me how to tie knots and how to read a compass. I remembered him mentioning, once, something about radios and codes, and how you could say an entire sentence without ever speaking. Morse. My skin prickled. The tapping came again, sharper, like it was adjusting to me. Tap, 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 pause. Tap, tap, tap. Pause, tap, tap. My breath hitched. I stared at box 7 and felt something in my chest tighten, like the unit itself was leaning closer. If you hear your own voice answering back. I couldn't unsee the list. I couldn't unhear the warning, but the tapping wasn't my voice. It was worse. It was my curiosity, turned into sound. My feet moved before my brain approved. I stepped forward until my face was close to the boxes, close enough to smell cardboard and dust, and that faint sharp scent that reminded me of electronics. I raised my hand toward box 7 without realizing I'd done it. The air felt warmer near it, not hot, just alive. I stopped an inch away, fingers trembling. Tap. One single tap right behind where my fingertips hovered. Like something on the other side knew exactly where I was. My hand snapped back. My heart hammered so hard it made me lightheaded. I stumbled backward and sat hard in the folding chair. The metal frame squealed against the concrete floor, and the sound echoed down the aisle. For a second, I expected Donna to appear, or a passerby, or anyone. No one came. The tapping stopped, and in that sudden silence I realized what frightened me the most. It wasn't that something was in box 7. It was that it had been waiting for me to notice, because it already knew my uncle was gone, and now it had me. I don't know how long I sat in that folding chair, staring at the boxes, like they might suddenly rearrange themselves. 30 seconds. 10 minutes. Time does weird things when your brain is trying to decide whether it's in danger or just embarrassed. Eventually, my breathing slowed enough that I could stand without my knees wobbling. The roll-up door was still open a foot and a half, just like the note said. Daylight still cut a pale rectangle across the concrete floor. Outside, somewhere in the distance, a car horn sounded, and then faded. Normal life. I got up and walked out of the unit, careful not to turn my back fully on the shelf until I was at the threshold. Only then did I look away. Only then did I let myself blink. The padlock felt heavier in my hand when I snapped it shut. The key turned, and the lock clicked into place, clean and final. For a moment I felt stupid, a grown man spooked by a cardboard box and his dead uncle's paranoid letter. Then I noticed the time. My phone, screen dark in my pocket, buzzed as if it had heard my thought. I flinched, yanked it out, and saw it wasn't a call or a text. It was the lock screen showing the time, 6:47 p.m. The office hours sign on the gate had said they closed at 7. Donna's voice replayed in my head. Do it during office hours. I started walking back toward the front office, the gravel crunching under my shoes too loud. My eyes tracking every camera mounted on every post. The office doorbell chimed again when I stepped inside. Donna looked up from her desk. Her expression didn't change much, but her posture did. She sat a little straighter, like she'd been waiting for me to come back. "Everything okay?" she asked. I tried to sound casual. "Yeah, just a lot of boxes. I'm gonna need another trip." Donna's eyes flicked toward the clock behind me. "You should come back tomorrow." "I can still make it," I said. "I just want to grab some personal stuff. Photos, papers." Donna stared at me for a beat too long. Her voice dropped slightly, not quite a whisper, but close. "Ben, do not stay here after the gate locks." The chill that crawled up my spine was immediate, instinctive. "Is this about my uncle?" I asked. Donna's jaw tightened. She glanced again toward the security monitors. I followed her gaze. The screen showed neat, empty aisles. Rows of doors, a couple cars in the lot. Nothing unusual. Then, on one monitor angle pointed down the back row, Unit 113's aisle looked off. Not wrong in an obvious way. Just wrong like a hallway in a dream. Like the proportions weren't quite right. Like the distance between doors didn't line up. Donna reached out and tapped the monitor with one fingernail. "That one's been glitchy," she said, too fast. I leaned in. The camera feed shivered and blurred for half a second, the colors smearing like wet ink. When it corrected, the aisle looked normal again. My mouth went dry. "You ever have trouble with people breaking into units?" I asked, because I needed a normal reason for what I'd just seen. Donna let out a short, humorless laugh. "People break into units all the time." Then she said something that made my stomach twist. "But they don't break into that one." "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled open a drawer and slid something across the counter. A laminated copy of the facility rules. It was the standard stuff. No hazardous materials. No firearms. No living creatures. Rent due on the 1st, but one line near the bottom had been added with a label maker strip. Unit 113, no after-hours access. No exceptions. My throat tightened. That's not standard. Donna held my gaze. "It is now." I wanted to ask her why. I wanted to show her my uncle's note and say, "What is Box 7? What did he do instead?" I heard myself say, "Okay." Donna's shoulders loosened slightly, like she'd been holding tension and I'd just made the correct move. I turned to leave, and as I did, the loudspeaker above the office door crackled. The facility had a cheap intercom system for announcements. Usually it played pre-recorded reminders about gate codes and office hours. Now, it popped with static and then a calm female voice began speaking, clipped and too formal. "Attention, tenants. Facility will be closing in 10 minutes. Please ensure all units are secured." Ben, the voice cut out, a breath of static. Then it continued, as if nothing strange had happened. "Jamin Alexander Hearn, please return your key to the front office." My name, my full name. Nobody called me Benjamin unless they were looking at legal paperwork. I stopped dead in the doorway. Donna's face had gone pale. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Then she lunged for the intercom switch and flipped it off. Silence fell hard. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seemed louder now. Donna stared at me like she was measuring how much damage had just been done. "That wasn't, I started." "Go," she said, not loud, but with an edge that didn't invite discussion. I backed out of the office. The sky had shifted toward dusk, the sun low and orange behind the fence. I walked to my car quickly, refusing to look at the cameras. As I reached for my door handle, My phone buzzed again. This time it was a call. The screen lit up with a name that punched all the air out of my chest. Uncle Ray. My thumb hovered over the answer button. My brain tried to justify it in the dumbest ways. Maybe my mom had set his contact to call me. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe then my uncle's letter flashed in my mind. If it rings while you're in here, do not answer no matter what name is on the screen. I didn't answer. I hit decline so hard my thumb hurt. The call ended immediately. Another call came in. Same name. Uncle Ray. My chest tightened. I forced my fingers to move carefully, like sudden panic would trigger something. I turned the phone off, just like the rule said, and shoved it into my pocket. The gate at the front of the facility emitted a soft beep as if counting down to lock. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove toward the exit. The aisle lights flickered once as I passed between rows. Just once. Like a wink, I looked in my rearview mirror despite myself. Unit doors fence. Sunset. Then the mirror showed a figure standing in the middle of the lane behind me. Tall. Still, hard to make out in the dimming light. I blinked, and it was gone. My grip tightened on the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. The gate was already sliding shut. I punched the code, heart racing, and the motor groaned as it stopped and reversed, opening again just enough for my car to squeeze through. As I passed beneath the camera at the gate, the intercom crackled once more, even though Donna had turned it off. This time, no polite closing reminder, just a low burst of static and something that sounded like a voice trying to imitate a voice. A rough, wet approximation of my uncle's tone. Ben, it said, and the way it pronounced my name was wrong, like it had learned it from reading it. Not hearing it. Ben, come back. You forgot something. I didn't look back. I drove out onto the main road and didn't let myself breathe until the facility sign disappeared behind trees. Only then did I realize my hands were shaking so badly. I could barely keep the car in its lane. I pulled into a gas station, a mile away, and sat in my car with the engine running, watching people come and go like nothing in the world had changed. My phone stayed off. My uncle's note sat like a weight in my pocket. And even out here, away from the fence and the cameras and the rule on the laminated sheet, I couldn't stop thinking about the one thing the intercom had said. You forgot something. Because I had. I hadn't checked the boxes, and the tapping in box 7 had stopped the moment I left, like it knew I'd be back. Like it was giving me time. I came back the next morning with two things I hadn't had the day before. Sleep and a plan. Sleep didn't help. Not really. It just gave my fear a chance to turn into something sharper and itch under the skin. A need to know what my uncle had been doing in Unit 113, and why my full name had come out of a speaker system like an order. My plan was simple. Go during office hours. Follow the rules, open the boxes in order. Take what mattered, leave the rest. Do not touch box 7. I repeated that last part the way you repeat. Don't crash, before merging onto a highway. Donna was in the office when I arrived. She looked up as I walked in and didn't bother with small talk. You came back, she said. Yeah, I replied. I'm going to clear it out today. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Not suspicious exactly. More like concern with teeth behind it. You should be done before 5. I will. Donna hesitated, then reached into a drawer and slid something across the counter. A facility map printout with Unit 113 circled in red marker. I'm not supposed to do that, she said. What is it? A courtesy, she answered, so you don't wander. The word sat between us, wander. Like the place could shift under you if you weren't careful. I took the map. Thanks. Donna held my gaze for a second longer. If you hear the intercom say your name again, don't look for the speaker. Just leave, I nodded, like that was a normal conversation for a storage facility at 10 in the morning. Unit 113 looked the same in daylight. The padlock still too new, the air around the corner still too still. But daylight has a way of making you think you can handle things you couldn't handle at dusk. I unlocked it and rolled the door up, leaving it open at least a foot. Just like the letter said. I stepped in and kept my eyes on the shelf. The 7 boxes waited, lined in a row like teeth. For a second, I thought I could hear my own heartbeat inside the cardboard. No tapping. Not yet. I pulled the folding chair closer to the entrance, so the strip of outside light stayed in my peripheral vision, and sat down with my uncle's letter in my lap like a checklist. Opened them in order. I reached for box 1. The lid came off with a soft tug. Inside were 3 items. A thin notebook, a set of printed photos clipped together, and a small clear bag holding what looked like a house key, with blue tape wrapped around its head. The notebook was my uncle's handwriting again. Not a diary, more like a log. Unit 113 incident record. The first entry was dated 11 years ago. Smell returned. Ozone. Loudspeaker malfunctioned, said Raymond Miller, twice. Facility manager at the time, Mark, claimed it was a system test. There was no scheduled test. Rule established. Never respond to announcements in the aisle. My mouth went dry. It wasn't just me. It wasn't new. I flipped to the next pages. Each entry was short, clinical, and ugly in its calmness. Tapping began. Box 7 not yet secured, replaced tape. Tapping stopped for 48 hours. Caught camera feed showing me entering unit at 3:12 a.m. I was home. I have receipt from diner to prove it. Manager checked footage. Manager said nothing unusual was on camera. Manager avoided eye contact for 2 weeks afterward. Rule established. Do not rely on cameras. I looked up at the ceiling corner where a camera might have been, then forced my eyes back down. I wasn't going to give the unit that kind of attention. The photos clipped to box 1 were mostly of the facility fence lines. Gate keypad. Donna's office window from a distance. My uncle had circled things in red pen. Places that looked normal but apparently weren't. In one photo, the aisle where Unit 113 sat was blurred like the camera lens couldn't focus on it. I set box 1 aside, lid back on, and opened box 2. Box 2 held a cassette recorder. The chunky kind from the 90s, with a label, play only outside the facility, and beneath it, a single sheet of paper with one sentence in my uncle's handwriting. If you hear me say, Ben, I'm sorry. Close the recorder and leave. My stomach rolled. I slid the cassette recorder back into the box, like it was a live wire, and put the lid on. Box 3 was heavier. Inside was a ledger thick. Worn pages filled with columns. Names, dates, amounts, unit numbers. At first I thought it was financial. Then I realized what it actually was. It was a list of people. Not customers, exactly. Not tenants. It read like an inventory of disappearances. Garrison 4 divided by 19. Tried to pry box. No further contact, J. Rio 6. Divided by 02. Heard his wife's voice. Quit job. Moved Mark H. 7 divided by 11. Looked inside 7. Erased. That word was underlined. Not dead, not missing, erased. My hands started to sweat. I turned the page and saw more notes in the margins. If it takes you, people forget you slowly. It starts with small things. Calls not returned. Photos that won't load. Then your name stops being said. You become a gap everyone steps around. I swallowed hard and forced the ledger closed. Box 4 contained a ring of keys. 6 keys, each with a numbered tag, 1 through 6. Number 7. There was also a folded slip of paper. Keys are not for locks. They are for doors that appear. Do not use key 6 unless you are ready to lose something you love. I stared at that line until I felt stupid for staring. Then I remembered my uncle teaching me how to install a deadbolt. A lock only keeps honest people honest, Ed said. Everything else is time. These keys looked like time. Box 5 held returned mail. Dozens of envelopes with my uncle's name on them. Stamped return to sender. But the addresses were strange variations that weren't quite wrong, but weren't quite right either. Ray Miller, 47 Oak Street. Raymond Miller, 47 Oak, St. Unit 113 R. Miller. Silver Pine Storage, some of them were addressed to me. Ben Hearn, 47 Oak Street. Benjamin Hearn, Unit 113 Ben, Box 7. My heart thudded painfully. I shoved those envelopes back into the box like they could infect me. Box 6 was smaller, light. Inside was a children's puzzle box. The kind you'd find at a thrift store. A simple picture puzzle with big pieces. The image on the front was of a smiling cartoon family, standing in front of a house. Only someone had taken a marker and scratched out every face. There was also a single puzzle piece taped to the inside lid. It wasn't from the cartoon family. It was a photo piece. Real. A sliver of an image that showed corrugated metal and a strip of daylight like the inside of a storage unit door. On the back, my uncle had written, "This is the only piece that matters." It fits box 7. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. I looked up slowly and willingly at the last box in the row. Box 7. Still sealed. Still too clean. As if it had never been opened. As if it had always been waiting. I could feel my body leaning toward it, not physically but mentally. The way your tongue leans toward a broken tooth. I forced my eyes away and stared at the folding chair instead. There was something taped beneath it. I hadn't noticed it yesterday. I crouched, careful to keep my shoulders angled toward the shelf, and reached under the chair a sticky note. My uncle's handwriting again, smaller this time. "Don't let it hear you count." I froze. My mind flashed back to the tapping, the pattern. The way it had adjusted when I got closer. It wasn't just a box. It was a listener. And if it could learn my name, and imitate my uncle's voice, and push my full legal name through the facility intercom, then it wasn't trapped by cardboard. Cardboard was just what it wore. I stood up slowly, heart racing, and tried not to look at box 7. The air in the unit felt sharper now, like before a storm, and from deep inside the cardboard so faint. I might have imagined it something made a sound that wasn't tapping. A soft scrape like a finger dragging along the underside of a lid. I backed away from the shelf without turning my back. I didn't come here to open box 7. But now I understood something worse. Box 7 didn't need to be opened to reach you. It only needed you to believe it should be. I left Unit 113 with boxes 1 through 6, stacked carefully in my back seat, like they were fragile explosives. I didn't take them home right away. I drove to a public park and sat in my car beneath a row of bored, leafless trees, trying to convince my hands to stop shaking. The first thing I did was turn my phone back on. It booted up like normal. No missed calls, no voicemail, no notification from the dead. I waited anyway, thumb hovering over the screen like a person who expects a snake to strike. Nothing then. As if the world had been saving up the punchline, my phone buzzed with a new email. Silver Pines Storage Final Notice. Unit 113, my stomach sank. I opened it and read the short, cheerful corporate paragraph informing me that Unit 113 was scheduled for lien auction the following morning due to unresolved administrative transfer delays, and non-payment under the deceased account. There was a time, a place, a line that made my skin crawl. Unit door will be opened publicly. Content sold as is. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. My uncle had said it was paid through the end of the month. The attorney had said it was paid. So either they were lying, or someone had made it unpaid on purpose. I drove back to Silver Pine so fast I barely remember the turns. Donna was still in the office when I burst in, the doorbell chiming like a joke. "I got an email," I said, and shoved my phone toward her. "You're auctioning Unit 113. Donna's eyes tightened behind her glasses. She didn't even read the whole message. It was like she already knew what it said. "It's automated," she told me. "When an account flags as disputed during probate, the system doesn't care about your uncle's payments. It puts a lien hold, then it schedules the auction." "That's insane," I snapped. "Fix it." Donna's lips pressed together. "I can't. You're the manager." "I'm the manager," she repeated, and there was something strange in her tone, like she meant, "I'm not the owner. I'm not the one who decides what happens with that unit." I leaned in. "Donna, people can't open that unit." Her eyes flicked up to my face, a beat. "Ben," she said carefully. "People open storage units every day. Not that one." For a second, Donna's mask slipped. I saw the fear. Real, practical fear. The kind that doesn't come from scary stories, but from experience. Then her expression hardened again. "You need to talk to corporate." "Give me their number." Donna wrote it down on a sticky note, then slid it across the counter. The note was already there before she wrote on it. I realized that because it had a faint crease down the middle, like it had been folded. Donna didn't seem to notice, or she pretended not to. "Call them," she said. "Tell them you're the beneficiary. Maybe they delay it. And if they don't," Donna's gaze drifted past me, toward the window that faced the rows of units. Then don't be here when the door comes up. I left the office and sat in my car with a sticky note and the corporate number I called. A recorded voice thanked me for choosing Silver Pines Storage. Options. Press 1. Press 2. I waited through 2 minutes of hold music that sounded like a dying elevator. Finally, a woman picked up. Her voice was bright, bored, and already impatient. Customer service. This is Kendra. I explained the situation. I used the right words: beneficiary, probate, paid in full, wrongful lien. Kendra paused long enough to type, then said, "Yes, I see the lien auction. It's scheduled." "It's paid," I insisted. "It's a mistake. It's not a mistake," she said. "It's policy, disputed account, asset liquidation." "Then cancel it," I snapped. Kendra sighed like I was asking her to personally move a mountain. "Sir, I can place a request, but it won't process before tomorrow. The earliest I can do is submit a delay for 30 days. That delay requires my phone crackled, not the connection. The phone itself, a faint electronic hiss, like static leaking through the speaker. Kendra's voice wavered, then shifted. The tone changed slightly, the cadence wrong. "Ben," she said, and my blood ran cold because Kendra hadn't used my name yet. "Ben, you should stop." I pulled the phone away from my ear and stared at it like it had grown teeth. "Kendra," I said. The voice breathed once, soft and close. Then it said, with a near-perfect imitation of my uncle's dry tone, "You're wasting time." The line went dead. I sat there with my phone pressed to my ear long after the call ended, listening to nothing. I didn't know if I'd imagined it. I didn't know if stress could do that to a conversation, but I knew one thing with brutal clarity. Whatever was in Box 7 could reach further than Unit 113, and it didn't want the auction stopped. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that ledger entry looked inside 7 erased, and imagined my face scratched out of photos. My name fading from people's mouths, my life becoming a gap everyone stepped around. At 7:30 a.m., I was at Silver Pines. I told myself I was there early to stop it. The truth was I was there, because if it happened, I needed to see how. The auction crowd gathered by the office like it was a weekend flea market. A couple with matching hoodies and a selfie stick. 2 men in ball caps and stained work boots, talking about resale value. A woman with a clipboard who looked like she could smell profit. One guy with bolt cutters swinging from his belt like a cowboy's revolver. They chatted and laughed, sipping gas station coffee. Donna wasn't smiling. She stood near the office door with a folder in her hands and a tent set to her shoulders. When she saw me, her eyes widened like she wanted to tell me to run. But she didn't. Instead, she walked over and said quietly, "I tried. Did they delay it?" I asked. Donna shook her head once. My stomach sank. The auctioneer arrived, a short man with a booming voice, and a portable speaker strapped to his waist. He clapped his hands and called the crowd into order like it was entertainment. "All right, folks, we got a handful of units today. Standard terms, cash or card. Tax included. You bid, you buy. You clear it out. No refunds," the crowd murmured, eager. I stepped closer to Donna. "Don't let them open 113. Donna's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm not the one opening it." The auctioneer led the group down the rows like a tour guide. Unit 102, old furniture. Cheap bids, Unit 109. Tools, bigger bids. Laughter when someone found a box of vintage magazines. Then he turned down the back row, toward the corner. Toward Unit 113, the air felt different as we got closer. Even the chatter quieted, like the place sucked sound out of people's mouths. The auctioneer stopped in front of the door and read from his clipboard. Unit 113. Estate lien, unpaid. Sealed for. He squinted. Special handling. The bolt cutter guy laughed. "Special handling, my ass. Probably bodies." A few people chuckled. Donna didn't. The auctioneer reached for the padlock. I stepped forward. "Wait." Every head turned toward me. The auctioneer raised an eyebrow. "You bidding? I'm the beneficiary," I said. My voice sounded too loud in the narrow aisle. "This unit shouldn't be auctioned. It's paid. It's Therese. There is a box you can't open, because something in it will erase you from existence. That's what I wanted to say. Instead, I sounded like a man trying to stop strangers from buying a couch. The bolt cutter guy shrugged. If you want it, bid. The couple with the selfie stick leaned in, whispering excitedly. Drama. I looked at Donna. She wouldn't meet my eyes. The auctioneer smiled like he could taste the bid war. All right, folks. Opening for preview only. No touching, no moving until sold. His hands went to the latch, and from inside the unit so faint, only I seemed to notice came a single hard knock. Not tapping, a knock, like a person on the other side of a door. The auctioneer froze for half a second, then laughed nervously. Probably rats. He lifted the roll-up door. Metal clattered upward. Daylight spilled in, and there they were, 7 boxes. Lined up perfectly on the shelf, like they'd been arranged for an audience. Box 7 at the end, sealed fresh and clean, as if it had been waiting for applause. The crowd leaned forward. Somebody whistled. The bolt cutter guy grinned, and the unit's intercom speaker, somewhere far away, crackled once so softly it could have been imagined, and a voice that wasn't Donna's and wasn't Kendra's, and wasn't my uncle said, almost lovingly, 7. The preview lasted less than a minute. That's what the auctioneer said later anyway, that it was quick standard, and that people were overreacting because somebody heard a knock and decided to make it spooky. But in my memory, that minute stretches into something elastic and ugly. The crowd leaned into the mouth of Unit 113, like it was a treasure chest. Phones came up. The selfie stick couple angled for a shot. The bolt cutter guy elbowed his friend and joked about cursed antiques. I stepped into the doorway before anyone could cross the threshold. No one touches anything, I said, louder than I meant to. The auctioneer gave me a warning look. Sir, step aside. This is a lien auction. If you want to stop it, you bid, or you bring paperwork. I have paperwork, I snapped, and immediately regretted it because the unit seemed to drink the word have. Paperwork like it liked it. Donna's eyes widened sharp and panicked. She shook her head once. Small. Don't. The bolt cutter guy laughed again. Man, let the kid have his haunted boxes. Somebody in the back said, what's with all the banker boxes? Looks staged. That word staged made my skin crawl. Because it was staged. My uncle had staged it. Yes, but not for an auction crowd. For me, for one person who would follow the rules. The problem was, none of these people believed in rules unless they were printed on a sign. Box 7 knocked again, harder this time. A hollow thump from inside the cardboard that made the nearest bidders flinch and laugh nervously. Okay, the auctioneer said, voice tight. Preview's over. Back up. Well, start bidding. The crowd shuffled back a step, still buzzing. Someone asked if the boxes were included. Someone else asked if there were comics. The bolt cutter guy rolled his shoulders, like he was about to win the lottery. I wanted to drag the roll-up door down and lock it and set my car on fire just to create distance between the world and that shelf. Instead, I heard myself say, "You'll take it," the auctioneer blinked. "You bidding?" "No," I said, and my heart hammered against my ribs. "You'll pay the lien right now, whatever it is." Donna made a sound half relief, half warning. The auctioneer's eyes lit up, greedy. "That's not how this works. You can't just—" "I can," I said, and I dug my wallet out with shaking hands. "You'll pay it, you'll pay the fees, you'll pay the month, you'll pay the unit knocked again, then again, fast, like it was getting impatient." Donna stepped forward quickly. "He can," she said to the auctioneer. "If the lien is satisfied before the bid starts, the unit doesn't go." The auctioneer turned on her. "Donna, I'm the manager," she said, and for the first time, I heard something hard and exhausted underneath her calm voice. "He can pay." Now, the auctioneer looked between us, then shrugged like this was still just business. "Fine, if he wants to buy his own junk back. Everybody 5-minute hold." The crowd groaned and muttered. The selfie couple kept filming anyway. The bolt cutter guy spat to the side and said, "He better not back out." Donna motioned me toward the office fast, like she was herding me away from an open flame. We hurried down the aisle. Halfway there, the loudspeaker crackled. Not an announcement this time. Not even static. Just a single soft syllable stretched wrong. Ben. I stopped so abruptly Donna almost collided with me. Don't, she hissed without looking at me. Keep walking. I forced my legs to move. My mouth tasted like pennies. We got into the office, and Donna shut the door behind us like that thin glass could keep anything out. Her hands shook as she typed on her computer. Lean amount, she muttered. Lean amount, where is it? Donna, I said quietly. What is this? She didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on the screen. You pay it, you take what you need. Then you leave today. I swallowed. My uncle said box 7. I know. Donna cut in, voice suddenly sharp. I know what it says. That made my stomach drop. You've seen his note. Her fingers paused on the keyboard. Ray wasn't the first person to leave warnings. The fluorescent lights above us flickered once, and Donna flinched like she'd been burned. What happens if I started? Donna's phone rang. The office phone, not her cell. The landline that almost never rang. Donna stared at it like it was a snake. The caller ID display lit up with 7 digits, not a number just. 1,131,131. Donna didn't pick up. The phone rang again, then stopped. Silence pressed down. Donna exhaled shackily. The lien is weird, she said, voice thin. It's showing as $0 due. My blood ran cold. That's good. Donna shook her head slowly. Number that's not good. Why not? Because it means someone cleared it. Her eyes flicked to mine. And you didn't. My stomach turned. Who did? Donna swallowed hard. Sometimes, she whispered. It clears itself. My throat tightened, then canceled the auction. Donna clicked rapidly, trying, and then her screen froze. A second later it refreshed. The lien status changed. Auction active, Donna stared at it, face draining of color. No, she whispered. No, no, her computer speakers crackled, despite there being no audio on. A voice whispered through the static, soft and amused. 7. Donna slammed the monitor down like closing a laptop could shut it out. We're out of time, she said, voice tight with panic. Ben, listen to me. If they open that box, if anyone opens that box, I know, I said, and my own voice sounded far away. It gets out. Donna's eyes darted to the drawer behind the counter. She yanked it open and pulled out a key ring. Not her keys, facility keys, the kind only staff had. She thrust one into my hand. It had a red plastic head. Unit Master, she whispered. You can lock the roll-up door from the inside latch if you need to. My hand closed around the key. Why are you helping me? Donna's mouth trembled. Because Ray helped me. Before I could ask what that meant, she shoved open the office door. Go, now. We ran back down the road toward Unit 113. The crowd was already restless. People complained, joked, milled around. The auctioneer had started talking again, warming them up. All right, folks. Looks like our friend here couldn't settle it. So we're live, starting bid at $50. I shoved through the crowd. Stop. The auctioneer frowned. Sir, Donna grabbed his arm fierce. Wait, just wait. The bolt cutter guy rolled his eyes. Oh my god, enough. What's the problem? His friend snickered. It's the box demon dude. The bolt cutter guy stepped forward anyway. Past me, past Donna, into the unit's mouth like he owned it. He reached for box 7. No, I said, and something in my tone finally cut through the crowd's amusement. Don't. He looked over his shoulder with a grin. Why? You're gonna bite me. Box 7 knocked again. A hard, eager thump. The bolt cutter guy laughed once. Loud, and then ripped the tape off the top of the box with one violent pull. The sound of tape tearing felt like skin. The lid lifted. For half a second, I saw what was inside. Not a creature, not a body. A stack of manila folders. Packed tight. Cassette tapes. Polaroids. A coil of hair tied with twine. A driver's license photo with the face scratched out. A notepad filled with handwriting that looked exactly like mine. The bolt cutter guy's grin faltered. He leaned closer, like he couldn't help it. Then the air in the unit changed. It thickened, heavy and sweet, like rotting fruit. The crowd went quiet, and from the open mouth of box 7, a voice began to speak low, intimate. Careful using the bolt cutter guy's voice first, then shifting mid-sentence into my uncle's, then into mine, as if trying on mouths. "You were always going to open it," it said softly. "You all were." The bolt cutter guy's eyes glazed like he'd been hypnotized. He reached both hands into the box. Donna screamed, "Back up." The auctioneer stumbled away. Someone dropped their phone. The selfie stick clattered on concrete. I lunged forward and grabbed the bolt cutter guy by the shoulders, yanking him back. His skin felt too warm, fever hot. He turned his head toward me, and his eyes weren't focused on my face. They were focused on something behind me. "Something in the air," he smiled slowly and whispered. "It knows you." Then he began to recite my full name over and over, like a prayer. The crowd started shouting. Someone ran. Another person laughed hysterically. The aisle seemed to stretch, doors farther away than they should have been. Donna shoved the auctioneer back. "Get them out. Close the gate." But the gate motor wasn't moving. The keypad lights were dead. The facility intercom crackled again. Louder now, echoing down every aisle. "Attention tenants," the female voice said, calm and wrong. "The unit is open. The unit is open. The unit is open." I looked into box 7 again despite myself. The folders inside weren't just folders. Each label was a name. Each name was written in a different handwriting, and at the very bottom, I saw one that made the world tilt. Benjamin A. Hearn, complete the voice from the box, spoke again, using mine now. Perfectly. "You can close it," it said, "but you can't put the words back in the box." My hand clenched around the red-headed key Donna had given me. I understood, in that awful instant, why my uncle's note had been so simple. Don't open box 7, because once it's open, the only choice left is what you're willing to sacrifice to shut it again. And I already knew what it wanted most, not my body, my place. I don't remember making the decision. I remember the feeling of inevitability, like stepping off a curb when you can already hear the car but your legs move anyway. The crowd was scattering. Not all at once, more like the idea of leaving was spreading through them in delayed waves. One woman sprinted down the aisle screaming someone's name, but the name kept changing halfway through her mouth. A man slammed his shoulder into a row of doors like he'd forgotten how hinges worked. The livestream couple had stopped filming. They just stood there staring at the open unit like their eyes were stuck. And the bolt cutter guy, still fever hot under my hands, kept whispering my full name like he was trying to summon me. Donna shoved past me into Unit 113, her face white and wet-eyed. "Ben," she said, fast and sharp. "Look at me." I did. She grabbed my wrist and forced the red-headed key into my palm. "Inside latch," she said. "You close the door from inside. Lock it. Don't let anyone open it again." My throat tightened. "What about them?" Donna's eyes flicked to the aisle. "If they leave, it follows them. If the box stays open, it writes them down." "Writes them down," I echoed, and it sounded insane. But I'd seen the folders. I'd seen my name labeled complete like I was a finished project. Donna's voice dropped. "Ray didn't die in his sleep." The words hit me harder than any ghost story. I began. "He sealed it," Donna said. "Years ago when someone else opened it. He did what you were about to do, and it took something from him every time. He forgot birthdays. He forgot faces. He forgot how to laugh. It eats you until you're easy to replace." My stomach twisted. I thought of my uncle's calm hands, his precise handwriting, his habit of correcting the world. I thought of the way Head started calling me kid, more often near the end, like he couldn't find my name fast enough. Donna squeezed my wrist. "You have to shut it now." The voice from box 7 spoke again, using my voice perfectly soft and coaxing. "Ben, come closer, you don't have to do this. You can let them go. You can leave." I swallowed hard and forced myself not to answer. I heard my own words in my own ears and felt sick. Donna backed toward the unit door, ushering the nearest stunned bidders away with her hands like she was pushing smoke. "Out! Out! Get out of here!" The auctioneer stumbled after her, face slack, repeating, "This isn't in the terms. This isn't in the terms." I tightened my grip on the bolt cutter guy. and dragged him backward, away from the shelf. He fought me weakly, not with strength, but with a strange reluctance, like he was trying to stay near the open box, the way a drunk tries to stay near a bar. His lips were cracked and shiny with saliva. His eyes were fixed on the shelf like there was a light only he could see. "Don't close it," he whispered. "It's almost done." My chest tightened. I shoved him out of the unit so hard he fell on the concrete. He didn't even try to get up. He just lay there and smiled faintly. Still murmuring my name like it was a lullaby, I stepped back into Unit 113. The air inside was thick with that sweet, rotten smell. It felt like breathing through a fruit fly cloud. My skin prickled, and my vision wavered around the edges, like heat shimmer. The shelf was straight ahead. Box 7 sat open, lid bent back. The contents inside too orderly for the chaos it caused. The folders were still, the tapes, the hair, the stolen pieces of people, and my voice kept speaking from the open mouth of the box, calm and steady. You can't lock a story away once someone has read it. I didn't respond. I kept my eyes on the shelf and moved to the roll-up door. The inside latch was a simple metal catch, the kind you'd use with a facility master key to prevent the door from being raised from the outside. Donna hadn't been exaggerating. Lock it from inside. Make it legally and physically inaccessible. I slid the red-headed key into the inside latch and turned. The mechanism clicked. The sound was small, but it landed in the unit like a gunshot. The voice from Box 7 stopped. For one sweet second, there was silence. Then the tapping started, not from Box 7 this time, from the metal walls, from the shelf, from inside the other boxes. A rapid, frantic staccato like 100 fingernails drumming at once. My stomach dropped. The unit wasn't angry. It was bargaining. I reached up and pulled the roll-up door down until it was only open a foot. Like the rule said, daylight narrowed to a thin strip. The air felt heavier immediately, like the unit hated losing its connection to outside. The tapping grew louder. Then it shifted into something else. A whispering chorus, layered voices sliding over one another, like pages flipping. My uncle's voice broke through first, clear as if he was standing behind me. "Ben, I'm sorry." The cassette recorder rule screamed in my mind, "Play only outside. If you hear him say that, stop." I didn't have the recorder on, which meant Box 7 was using the line anyway. It wanted me to turn around. It wanted me to look back at the shelf, at the open mouth, at the proof. I didn't. I sat in the folding chair facing forward, eyes locked on the boxes, and waited like the letter had instructed, in case the door sealed. The air got colder, not temperature cold, memory cold. Images flickered in my head that weren't mine. A woman's laugh in a room I'd never been in. A child's face behind rusted bars. A hand writing my name over and over, until the letters bled. The unit was trying to show me what it held. It was trying to make me curious enough to finish the job. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth ached and kept staring at the shelf, like it was the only real thing left outside. I heard Donna shouting, footsteps, the rattle of the gate chain, someone sobbing. And then, finally, the sound of the roll-up door being pushed down from the outside. Donna, she didn't try to open it. She didn't call my name. She just pressed the metal down until it slammed shut. Darkness swallowed the unit. I sat in the chair with my eyes open, staring into black, listening to the last thing I ever wanted to hear. A soft, satisfied sigh from Box 7. Then, in the darkness, my phone still in my pocket buzzed once. A notification, a new email. Silver Pine Storage. Thank you for your payment. I didn't remember paying anything, and I didn't need to. Because the unit had. It had cleared itself. It had closed the paperwork loop. It had made the unit officially mine. To make sure I could never claim it wasn't my problem. When the door finally rolled up again hours later, with police and an ambulance and Donna shaking hands, I stepped out into daylight and saw the crowd scattered like debris after a storm. Some people were gone. Some were sitting on the gravel staring at nothing, unable to answer simple questions. The bolt cutter guy was still there, lips moving silently, eyes bright with fever and joy. He looked at me and mouthed my name one last time. Then he frowned, confused, like he couldn't remember why He'd been saying it. Donna met my eyes across the aisle. Her face was hollow. She didn't say anything, but I understood. It wasn't finished. It was contained, for now. I took boxes 1 through 6 home. I never played the cassette. I never used the keys. I never opened any envelope addressed to Ben Box 7. I moved 3 months later, without telling anyone where. But last week, a padded envelope arrived with no return address. Inside was a cheap brass key, stamped with a rectangular head, 114, and a note in blocky handwriting I recognized. Even though I hadn't seen it since the funeral,